All right. Hey, listen, welcome back. Back with the Sandoval crew. Now, this is the first time you're actually seeing the video notes. So we're going to go through the presentation. I do expect you to go ahead and write in the notes. Now, if you have a printer, you're going to discover that you have a fillable in notes. If not, you're going to have to just do it all by hand. So with that, let me go ahead and share the screen. And let's get started. Okay, and let me find the right screen to share. Share, wait a second, it's not it, that's not it. This is it, okay. Let me go back and share the screen. It's this one. Ooh, it's not this one, hold on. Close that one out. Let's make sure we're sharing the right screen. Oh, here it is, excellent. All right, good. Hey, listen, so, all right, good. Can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Okay, so now today in Math Models, one of the things that we're going to introduce yourself is to some things to do with statistics and something called observational and experimental studies. So with that, hey, Celeste, go ahead and read the first paragraph that's here.
Intro. A datum is an individual known fact. The plural is data and can be defined as a collection of facts or statistics
Statistics?
statistics that can be used to analyze a situation and therefore make predictions about possible outcomes.
All right, good.
Data.
Let me this way, stop there. Okay, so now, Marcus, what does that mean to you?
Chance, I guess.
Some things, right? Okay, now, possibly, right? But Maximus, why don't you keep on reading starting from data?
Data is collected by doing research. 3 types of research are given below.
All right, good. Marcus, why don't you read the 3 types of researches?
Observational study, experimental study, and survey.
Yes, observational, experimental, and survey. And this is really what the basis of what we're going to learn in today. This is kind of like the intro. And one thing you're going to realize is that this word right here, datum, okay, it's actually it's an actual statistical term, and it refers to something. Okay, so now let's actually move on to the next slide. And Celeste, why don't you go ahead and read the observational study in the first sentence?
A study in which the researcher
No, start with this. Start with this.
Observational study. A study in which the researcher observes what is happening or what has happened in the past and tries to draw conclusions based on these observations.
Okay, Maximus, read about examples.
You directly look at an account. How much of each item is being sold in the cafeteria?
Okay, and then Marcus, read the second one.
A study took a random sample of people and examined their social media habits. Each person was classified as either a light, moderate, or heavy social media user. The researchers looked at which groups tended to be happier.
All right, excellent. Okay, so Marcus, if you had to say a summation, how can you tell something is observational?
Observational?
Yeah.
You just look at the statistics. You don't really involve yourself in them.
Yeah, here, let me go ahead and, did you see what I boxed off right now?
Observes?
Yeah, researcher observes. And that's how you know you got an observational study. Now, don't confuse this with this next thing we're going to get into. Celeste, why don't you go ahead and read this, this thing that says experimental study.
Experimental study. A treatment is deliberately imposed on individuals in order to observe possible changes in the variable being measured.
Okay, good. Stop there. Max, read these next 2.
Treatment groups. The group that receives the treatment. Control groups. The group that received no treatment.
Okay, good. Stop there. Marcus, go ahead and do this next part.
Examples. Study the effect of a calcium supplement given to girls on bone mass. You You hypothesize that a small change in price will not affect the popularity of pizza. You sell pizza for the usual price on week and then increase the cost of the next week and measure the differences in sales.
All right, so Marcus, if you had to sum it up, how would you sum it up an experimental study?
Experimental studies when you do something to change the environment and see how the changes affect it overall.
Yeah, you deliberately impose it and then observe the possible changes, right? So that's the best way to put it. All right, excellent. Okay, good. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, Celeste, go ahead and read the survey part.
Survey. Ask people for their opinion. Example. You ask your classmates what their favorite food is in the cafeteria.
Yes, by far easiest one because about everybody knows the survey. You take surveys all the time. You're going to be doing some of these virtual Zoom classes and they're going to give you polls. Polls are virtually surveys is really what it is. Okay, good. All right, so now let's go ahead and Max, if you had, why don't you read this box here? And then you're going to tell me what one I should draw a line to.
For a project, students are asked every 10th student if they eat breakfast every morning.
Okay, so what do you think that is? Which of these three do you think it is?
Survey?
Okay. We'll see if we're right. If not, I can undo any of the marks I make, right? I have an eraser, so I love that. Okay. Now, Marcus, why don't you go ahead and read the next box?
Okay. The Colorado Division of Wildlife caught 41 bighorn sheep on Mount Evans, and each gave one an injection to prevent heartworm. A year later, 38 of these sheep did not have heartworm, while the other 3 died.
Okay, good. So what do you think this one is?
That would be experimental because they changed something.
They changed something, exactly. Okay, good. Celeste, go ahead and read the last one.
An ecology class used binoculars to watch 23 turtles at a pond. 18 were in a box and 5 were snapping.
Okay, Celeste, so do you think it should be observational and why?
Because it observes, so there's 23 turtles and they see that there was 18 were in a box and that there was 5 that were snapping.
Yeah, basically it's all observational, right? Excellent. Okay, good. All right, so Max, go ahead and read these types of data.
Data is about qualities or ideas that cannot be measured and recorded with numbers. Examples: what is your favorite food? What type of car do you own? How are you feeling?
Yeah, so what do they call these kind of types of data?
Quantitative data.
Yeah, quantitative data, right? So it's stuff that cannot be measured and recorded with numbers, right? Okay, so Marcus, why don't you read the next one?
Okay, qualitative data. About the qualities or ideas that cannot be measured and recorded with numbers. Example, how much did you spend on lunch today?
Actually, you know what? Wait a second. They did this wrong. This one's the ones that can be measured and recorded with numbers. Okay? I think because qualitative data is the ones that cannot be measured.
But then the examples are wrong, right?
I think the examples are wrong. Let me double check and I'll tell you right now. Because it looks like whoever created this PowerPoint. Yeah, actually you're right. The examples are wrong. Okay. So like what your favorites, like, so basically these two need to be switched.
Okay, Dad, are you just gonna cut this out and just put the correct one in?
Yeah, so basically let's do this. Cross this out. And this will be quantitative.
No, Dad, I mean like, are you gonna cut this out of the video and fix the presentation itself?
No, because everybody should know that not all things are perfect. Remember? Not all things are perfect. And sometimes you learn more actually by mistakes than you do from always doing everything perfectly. Okay, you learn more in a mistake than you would in ever by when everything's always normal. Okay, so as a result, so this one should be this. So quantitative data, okay, is all these examples here. So if I could cross this out, I would say stuff that could measure. Stuff you could measure. So let's see if I can try to write this correctly. And over here, this should be qualitative data. Because if you think about it, quantitative, so when I heard the definitions, quantitative is quantities. That's the reason why it fits in here. That's the reason why we have this, quantitative. So how much you spend on lunch, how tall you are, these are all numbers. I could define these. I could define these things. And actually, most of our lives is quantitative data. Okay, and it's sometimes hard to set, but there's a count to everything we do. Even the number of thoughts we're going to have in a possibility of a lifetime is quantitatively defined. Qualitatively, we also express things like moods and things like that. But you could quantitate these things, but qualitatively, you can't tell me, oh yeah, this number. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why. So qualitative cannot be measured. Oh, so that's actually true. I just didn't cross it out. All right, good. Okay, so now moving on. Did it make sense to you, Celeste?
Yes.
All right, good. You're my good measure. All right, because you get it. I know my students get it. Okay. Now we're going to be doing not a Google Classroom. We're going to be doing a Kahoot and the quizzes from here. But actually, first, right before that, here's a true measure of how much we learn. In your Google Classroom, there's going to be this form, and either you have the benefit, you can print it out, or you don't. And if you don't, it's not that big of a deal. You're just going to have to write it out and write down what's in here. So let me screen share that. And we're going to go ahead and fill that in for ourselves. Just let me find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. And then we're going to see how much we actually learned from the video. If not, this is going to be a good opportunity for you to say, okay, I didn't really understand this definition as much, but so I'm going to change, I'm going to, and see, here you go. Okay. So the first blank. Okay. So that's the, why don't you go ahead, read the sentence, and then tell me what should go in the blank. A blank is an individual known fact. What do you think should go in there?
Well, what part are we doing this from the video?
It's actually from the beginning. Marcus, does anybody know what should go in the first blank? A blank is an individual known fact.
Datum.
Oh, you got it, Marcus. Let me write it down. Datum. Remember we said that in the video? I kind of box it off. Datum, right? And the pearl is what? It's very famous, the pearl. Does anybody know what the pearl? The pearl is known as what? It can be defined as the collection of what?
Dantums.
Oh, good, right? Hey, so guess what? Have you ever heard the word dantums before?
Danny
Nope.
Phantom?
No, right? I don't think we've ever used the word dantums, right? But I would guarantee you that you've used the word data, right?
Data.
So data is the pearl of a datum, which is a single individual known fact. So if there's a single individual known fact, to say, hey, you know what, Marcus, that there's a datum about you. I know one datum about you, and you'd be like, what are you? Okay. But it also could be defined as a collection of facts or statistics that can be used to analyze any situation, okay? And therefore, you can make what about possible outcomes? What can you make? Max.
Hypothesis.
No, Max, do you know? Why will you use data and facts and stats? What are they used for? What's the purpose of them mostly?
To collect information from projects or something?
I know, but why? What's important about knowing facts and data? What can you do?
Is it to, I can't think of any big words.
What about, can you make predictions? If you know what's going on with how things work.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big things in life. The more you know, the more you're able to strike on opportunities that happen because you know what's going on. You know that visually when you look at things, how many things are you able to look at?
1.
Millions. But your brain only captures one. The world that you see is only a glimpse of what's actually out there. Now here, blank is collected by doing research. What is that?
Data?
Yeah, data. Good. And there's 3 types of research that are given below, right? So let's look. Okay, so Celeste, surveys. You ask people for their, what do you ask people for when you do a survey?
You ask them questions.
Yeah,
Their opinion.
their opinion, right? And or recall of facts, right? Okay, Marcus, observational studies. You directly blank something.
You directly study something.
Observe.
Observe.
That's the thing that makes it observational, right? You're able to observe something or someone to find out what?
To find data.
Yeah, facts or data. Because they kind of interchange a bit without inferring what's being said. Oh, so we forgot to do examples. So give me an example.
Okay, for observational studies or surveys?
No, for observational.
Observational study. I don't know, like looking at the ways alligators eat.
Yeah, you could. Well, I wouldn't say alligators. What about something that did happen to you today? You saw how much it rained, didn't you?
Oh yeah, see how much it rains.
How much it rained. Okay, so let's say, give me a survey example.
A survey. Like you can do like how Daddy, how was your day?
Yeah, or what was your best part of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a survey. Was the best part of your day? Let me fill that in. All right, and then Maximus, why don't you go ahead and tell me tell me for experimental. You test a blank.
Opinion
Remember how you said hypothesis?
or hypothesis? No, that was Marcus.
Oh, is it? Okay. By
Changing one environmental? No.
yeah, by changing one. Oh yeah, by changing one. I guess you could say environmental.
Element, factor.
Yeah, one factor. It's a factor. I'll say, yeah, let's put down one variable because it could change at a time and measuring its effect. So like cause and effect. Remember, our world works on cause and effect, even if we fight against it. You know, there's a lot of people that don't understand this great rule, and it's a rule that no matter what is going to happen. Okay, now give me an example though. Thanks. Experimental.
What are people's favorite breakfast?
No, that's going to be more of a survey. I think if anything, what about if you raise the price on breakfast, right?
Yeah, raise the price.
Like imagine you raise the price on your favorite item at the cafeteria.
Oh, okay.
You could see if people still buy it, or how far can you go up before people stop buying.
Amount.
Right?
Yeah, that's
exactly some of the things that you could discover and do. Now let's move this and scroll down. And now let's get into advantages and disadvantages. Okay, you can leave this part blank. I really don't. Okay, let's talk about this next part. There's different types of samples that you could do, okay? And we're going to talk about each one just briefly so you get an idea. So you really don't have to, but let's go ahead and fill these things in. It says, if you're studying a small enough group, okay, it says you can survey or observe the whole group or population, right? So I said, read the rest.
Okay. Otherwise, you observe a smaller blank of the group
Okay,
called
wait, part of the group called a sample.
sample. Otherwise, you observe a smaller part of the group called a sample.
And how well the resulting data represents the whole group. Now, Marcus, why will we do this?
I don't know actually.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is it easy, if I wanted to ask every American their opinion on something, how easy would that be to accomplish?
That'd be very hard because
Yeah.
there are people who say that you work for the government and not tell you their opinion.
Yes, exactly, right? Very, very difficult, correct? Okay, now is it easier for me to get a sample? Like
Yeah.
talk to people and stuff, right? Okay, good. All right, so if I called just like, let's say I just asked my kids, do you think your opinion would be very to like our Sandoval household?
No. My mom says
Wait, hold on. Remember, we're live. But let me just answer the question. What do you think here? Do you think that our opinion would be cohesive in some respects?
Yeah, it could cause an effect.
No, it could be. It's going to be like what we think about here, San Antonio, and everything, right? Now, if you ask a different family or different something else, different people somewhere else, and it's like asking kids about certain things when they live, let's say, in Texas compared to us in New York. Think you're going to have the same opinion?
no.
No, right? Or let's say you ask first graders to 12th graders. Do you think they're going to have the same opinion?
They're gonna have widely different opinions.
Yes, exactly. So that's the reason why you have these different type of samplings, right? That kind of tell you, okay, you're gonna get a sample, but your sample's only as good as far as you go. Okay. So you see the first one? What's the first one? Marcus, read that one.
Okay, convenience sampling.
Yeah, so what do you think that one is?
It's when you ask people who are
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah, easy sampling, right? That's probably the people that are closest to you. So like imagine your teacher said, hey, sample some people, you ask your couple of your friends, right? Sample. So this is like asking friends, right? Okay. Now, suppose you say, you know what, I don't want to be so biased. So then what would you move into?
Random sampling.
Yeah. And what do you think random sampling is?
It's when you sample people randomly.
Yes. Sample people randomly, right? So now you ask people just randomly, right? Sample random, right? Oh, let me write this down. Okay, but there could still be bias because if you're only randomly sampling, let's say, people in your grade level, people that walk in your class, hallway, there gets to be some bias right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say grade level. Okay. Now, what about Max? What do you think systematic sampling is?
Voting for a president?
No, systematic says, you know what? I'm gonna sample like instead of doing random, I'm gonna sample like every 20th student.
Oh.
Right? So then maybe you could get a little bit more of a fair thing instead of just some random, right? Every 20th student you'll sample, right? But again, if you're just, let's say, at your high school, you're still only getting high school students and possibly only that grade level, right? So Marcus, what do you think is this next one?
Cluster or stratified sampling.
Yeah, what do you think that is?
It's when you get a group of people and ask them offer their sample.
Yeah, well, cluster is more of, yeah, it's going to be more, one second, yeah, it's going to be more like breaking people up into groups. So like you go to different classes, and then inside those classes, you randomly sample. Then randomly sample. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So then you could maybe get, if you're only talking about, let's say your high school, then maybe you'll get all the grade levels because you're just going to random classes. Does it make sense? So instead of just getting one grade level, you're getting now multiple. Now you're really getting them more. Okay. And, oh, and then now remember these types of data. So when we talk about market max, let's see how much you learn. When we talk about qualitative data, it's data about.
Well, I know you don't record or measure.
It's numbers that you cannot use because how you feel or what's your favorite food.
Yes, that's true, right?
And you can use numbers.
Yeah, so it's basically data about qualities. It cannot be measured or recorded with numbers. So remember I said, you're right, favorite food. Okay, Marcus, do the next part. What's quantitative?
Quantitative data is data about measurements or blank that can be expressed with numbers.
Quantities, yeah, they can be expressed with numbers. So give me an example.
The amount of people in Madison High School.
Yeah, the amount of people in Madison High School, right? Good. Okay, so that's some good examples. And pretty much that's it. So now you got a really good, so just quick shout out. If you had to say something, what's something you learned about today that you like? What would you say to everybody?
About the difference about these two things.
Okay, cool. And anything else?
A datum is a singular data.
Yeah, no, a datum. A datum is the singular data. All right, good. Hey, listen, go ahead and take these notes. After that, there will be also a quiz assignment for you to do. I'll go ahead and show you how to upload these notes, all right? But thank you, everybody. Everybody say bye.
Bye.